Welcome back. Today I want to take you somewhere where people in crypto never look. Everybody wants to talk about XRP's price, and everybody wants to talk about the next chart, the candles, the next breakout, the next price target, the next big move. And I get it. Price is exciting. But if you really want to understand why XRP holders are so convicted, then you'll have to stop staring at the chart for a minute and start looking at the people behind the infrastructure. Because XRP is not positioned like some meme coin. Ripple is not being run like some basement crypto startup. This is a global financial infrastructure company. And when you actually look behind the leadership, who's behind Ripple, the whole story, then things start to look very different. This is where the average person misses the play. And they look at XRP and say, it hasn't moved enough yet. They say why is it still sitting there? They say, how come it didn't explode? But if you look at Ripple and ask yourself a different question, why would a company trying to build a global financial rail stack up its leadership team with people from Yahoo, AOL, Hightail, eLoan, Prosper, HSBC, American Express, enterprise software, encrypted cloud systems, global partnerships and institutional legal strategy, and financial operations? That's not random. It's not accidental. This is a signal. And if XRP is going to become the world bridge currency, it cannot be built on hype alone. It needs serious people. It needs people that can sit across from banks, regulators, governments, payment companies, asset managers, and enterprise institutions that actually need to be taken seriously. And this is exactly why Ripple has assembled such a team, starting with the one and only Brad Garlinghouse. So Brad's not some crypto influencer that showed up in a bull market and started yelling about price targets. So before he was at Ripple, he was operating inside of major internet and communication companies. Brad held senior roles at Yahoo and AOL, and he was the CEO at Hightail. So he's been around enterprise technology, customer platforms, communications, and large-scale internet businesses from day one. So when Brad walks into a room with banks, regulators, and institutional partners, he's not walking in like a hype man. He's walking in like a seasoned Silicon Valley executive who understands scale, strategy, corporate pressure, and global adoption. And that matters. Because Ripple's not trying to sell a meme coin to retail. Ripple's trying to sell financial infrastructure to the world. Then when you have Chris Larsen, Ripple's co-founder and executive chairman, this guy's entire career has been about attacking the old financial system with technology. Before Ripple, Larsen co-founded eLoan, which is one of the early online lending platforms. He also co-founded Prosper. So Prosper is one of the major peer-to-peer lending platforms. Think about one pattern: online lending, peer-to-peer finance, customer financial access. Then Ripple, not the guy who's randomly stumbled into crypto. This is someone who's been working for decades on using technology to remove friction from finance. So when people ask why Ripple is focused on payments, liquidity, and financial rails, just look at the founder's history. It's always been about modernizing money. Then you have David Schwartz. This is one of the most important names in the entire XRP story. David Schwartz is Ripple's CTO and one of the original architects on the XRP ledger. And his background is not weak. Before Ripple, he worked on the encrypted cloud storage, enterprise messaging systems, and high security technology. That's exactly the type of mind you'll want behind a ledger designed for speed, reliability, settlement, and global value transfer. So if XRP is supposed to become a bridge asset, the technology can't be built like some science experiment. It has to be serious, it has to be reliable, and it has to be battle tested. It has to handle value movement at scale. David Schwartz gives Ripple that technical credibility. So then there is Monica Long, Ripple's president. Monica has been with Ripple since the early days. She has seen the company evolve from an early blockchain payment to RippleNet, RippleX, institutional adoption, tokenization, stablecoins, and the entire SEC battle. She is not new to the story. She has lived through the story. That kind of continuity matters because companies that survive major attacks, regulatory pressure, market cycles, and industry shifts need leaders who understand the original mission and the future direction at the same time. Monica brings that. She understands the product, the ecosystem, the developers, and the institution and the messaging. And now she's helping lead Ripple into the next stage. Then you have Stuart Alderati. So that's Ripple's chief legal officer. And this is a massive piece of the story. Ripple went to war with the FCC. Ripple went to war with the SEC. Not a small fight, not a slap on the wrist. A full-blown regulatory battle that could have destroyed any company's momentum and scared institution away forever. And who did Ripple have leading legal strategy? A lawyer with deep experience in major financial institutions, including HSBC, CIT, and American Express. That's not lightweight legal experience. That is banking, finance, corporate governance, regulation, and institutional pressure. So when Ripple had to fight one of the most important crypto legal battles in history, they weren't walking in with amateurs. They had real legal firepower. That matters a lot because the future of crypto will not be won by one technology alone. It'll be won by companies that survive regulation, understand compliance, and can build inside a financial system. That matters because the future of crypto will not be won by one technology alone. It'll be won by the companies that survive regulation, understand compliance, and can build inside a financial system without being crushed by it. Ripple survived. So this is the part of the reason that XRP holders are still here today. Then let's look at Eric Van Mittenberg. So this is Ripple's Vice President of Strategic Initiatives. This is the kind of person you need when you're trying to turn technology into adoption. Because building a ledger is one thing, getting institutions, banks, payment providers, and global partners to actually care is another thing entirely. Eric has experience across strategy, business development, partnerships, marketing, global operations, and in major technology companies like Adobe, Yahoo, Hightail, and many others. That tells you that Ripple is not just thinking like a crypto company. Ripple is thinking like an enterprise level company. Partnerships, strategy, adoption, global expansion, institutional relationships. Now that is how infrastructure becomes real. And when you have the financial leadership inside a Ripple, people like John Bilch, who's been inside of Ripple for many years and serves as the CFO. When a company is acquiring major infrastructure, launching stable coins, expanding globally, dealing with regulatory pressure, managing capital, and building products for institutions, financial discipline matters. This is no longer a tiny startup trying to survive. Ripple is executing a global strategy. And when you put all of this together, the picture becomes extremely clear. Brad brings enterprise technology and a Silicon Valley scale. Chris Larson brings decade of fintech disruption. David Schwartz brings technical architecture behind the XRP ledger. Monica Long brings in continuity, product strategy, and ecosystem leadership. Stuart Alderati brings in legal and regulatory firepower. And Eric Van Mittenberg brings in partnerships, strategy, global business development. John Bilch brings in financial discipline and execution. That is not the leadership profile of a meme coin company. This is leadership profile of a company trying to become part of the future of global finance. And this is where XRP bridge currency thesis starts to make a lot more sense. Because if XRP was just another altcoin, none of this would matter. If this were just another hype cycle, leadership wouldn't matter. If this was another pump and dump, global offices, legal teams, institutional partnerships, stable coins, payment rails, and acquisitions would not matter. But XRP is not trying to be another coin. XRP is trying to solve one of the biggest problems that ever existed in global finance. How value moves across borders, across currencies, across institutions, and across stable coins, across tokenized assets, across liquidity pools. And that's a massive problem. And the massive problems require serious teams. The world is moving into tokenized assets. Stable coins are growing. CBDCs are being explored. AI is coming fast. Machine-to-machine payments are coming. Instant settlement is becoming necessary. Global finance is becoming digital, programmable, and 24/7. The old rails were not built for that world. Banks still move way too slow. So cross-border payments are way too slow, way too expensive. Settlements are still way too long, and liquidity is still fragmented. Capital is still trapped in outdated systems, and that's where a bridge asset becomes powerful. And that's where the XRP enters the story. XRP is not trying to be Bitcoin. It's not trying to be Ethereum. It's not trying to be some meme coin. It's trying to become liquidity bridge, a neutral asset that can help move value between different systems, between fiat and crypto, between banks and blockchains, between stablecoins and tokenized assets, between the old financial rails and the new digital economy. So that's the bigger picture. If you want to know whether Ripple is serious about that mission, let's look at the people they've assembled. This company with legal strength, technical strength, enterprise strength, fintech history, and institutional relationships, packed with global strategy and financial discipline. That's why I keep saying that people are watching the wrong thing. They're watching the candles. I'm watching the infrastructure. I'm watching the leadership. They're watching noise on social media. I'm watching influence. Because if XRP does become the world's currency, it will not happen because retail screamed loud on X. It will happen because Ripple built the rails, fought the battles, earned institutional trust, expanded globally, secured partnerships, launched projects, and positioned XRP inside of the new financial system. So that is the story. And that's why XRP holders are not easily shaken. Because when you look beyond the price and actually study the team, the strategy, the infrastructure, it becomes obvious that Ripple is not playing a small game. It's not random and it's not accidental. This is not another crypto project hoping for attention. This is one of the most serious financial infrastructure plays in the digital asset space. And the people behind it have the resumes, have the influence, and have the experience to prove it. So next time someone laughs at XRP and says it's just another altcoin, ask them one question. Why would a company with this level of leadership, legal firepower, technical architecture, fintech story, and the global institution strategy spend over a decade building around payments, settlement, liquidity, and tokenized finance? Because they're not building for a trend. They're building for the next financial system. And XRP will be the bridge that connects it all. Till the next time, X Finance Bull.